Sorry.
I guess I was wrong. All right, we're going to keep going from there. All right, tonight we have Dreadful Part 2. This is going to be a second part of probably a 5-part series. We have Brooke Maroldi, myself, Jackie Benka, Mike Kiley, and a special guest appearance by Miss Liz Shipe. All right, so here we go, off to Dreadful Part 2. How can I possibly do this? It's been 3 days since Mr. Barker gave me the job and with Whitford and Marks, and I haven't written a single word. I'm in such trouble. If I can't write, I can't live.
Oh, how is the writing coming, my dear?
Not so well. Telling a story at the pub is so simple. Writing it down on paper, it's nearly impossible. Hell, I made up a story about cannibals and incest on the fly when Mr. Barker met me.
Then why don't you write that one down?
I can't remember it all. I know the characters, but the details are sketchy.
I see. Well, how much do you remember?
I wove a gruesome tale just for him. The words came so easily, but that part of my mind is gone. I stare at these blank pages, but nothing comes.
You're thinking too hard, Thomas.
I'm afraid. If I don't deliver, I'll lose the job before I start it.
Don't be afraid.
How can I not be? I feel like a talentless hack.
But you know that you are not.
Maybe I do have demons. And right now, they're laughing at me because they're withholding their stories from me.
You don't have demons. You're just nervous. The paper intimidates you. I'll get you a pint. You sit there and relax. Don't think for a few moments.
Thank you, Rosie.
I'll be right back.
What am I going to do?
Nothing. Talentless.
What? No. No, not you again. You're not real.
You couldn't write a story if your life depended on it.
That's not true. Leave me alone.
You know I do not lie. You know that since you were young, you never succeed as an author. Go back to the pub, drown your sorrows in ale.
I can do this.
No, you can't. You need my help.
I won't listen to you.
Why not?
What?
You just said that you wouldn't listen to me.
Oh, No, I wasn't talking to you.
Who then?
Tell her, and she'll think you're mad.
No one. Just thinking out loud.
Oh, have you thought of a story?
As a matter of fact, I have.
Lies.
Can you write it down?
No.
Then tell it to me and I'll pen it.
You would do that for me?
Of course, Thomas.
You are my angel.
Drink your ale. Start when you are ready.
He'll never be ready. Don't even try, Thomas.
We will call this one Devil Inside Her.
A suggestive title. Does it mean the girl is possessed?
You'll soon find out. Andrea Milovich was a very common young girl. She worked for a wealthy family as a laundry lass. She never knew her birth parents, but the Catchers, who she worked for, loved her like a daughter. She would often be seen hanging Mrs. Catcher's fine dresses and undergarments out to dry. To call Andrea a beauty would be untrue. To call her a fright would be unfair. She, as I said, was common. The men about town rarely gave her a second glance. She feared she'd become a spinster.
Oh, this is starting out so sad.
Give it time. It's true she was an ordinary girl who lived an ordinary life. But one day, something extraordinary happened to her. She dropped a bucket of water that splashed in the shoes of a passing businessman. Ugh! Watch where you're going, he yelled. I've just come from the tailor, and this suit is new.
The bucket was heavy, and I'm tired from work. You would understand what that was like if you ever did a day's work in your life, you dandy.
Without a word, the man seized his cane and tried to strike her. But the blow was caught by another man. Neither of them had seen approach.
That is no way to treat a lady.
The man stepped back and glared. This is none of your business, whoever you are. He looked away when their eyes met.
I make it my business to protect innocent women from passing brutes.
Well, I never, was all the man was able to say as he stormed off.
Thank you. That would have hurt if he had hit me.
Think nothing of it. It was my pleasure.
It was just a bit of soapy water that I spilled on him and his newly tailored slacks.
Some men are very particular about their clothes.
Fops, you mean?
Indeed. Forgive me. I have yet to introduce myself. I am Damien LaRue, newly arrived from England.
Damien smiled down at her. Her mouth went dry. The stranger's eyes were dark and striking.
It's very nice to meet you, Mr. LaRue. My name is Andrea Milovich.
Ah, a beautiful name for a beautiful woman.
LaRue kissed her hand, which she quickly withdrew. Something about this gentleman made her uneasy. Scared her.
Thank you. Enjoy your stay. I need to be moving along now.
Going so soon? We've only just met.
I have work to do.
When will you finish your work?
His words took Andrea by surprise.
Not till late this evening.
Excellent. My day doesn't truly begin until after dark anyway.
I see. Well, good day.
I wonder, seeing as I'm new to your lovely city, if you would care to have dinner with me this evening.
I don't know.
Your work will be done,
Yes.
and you are human, aren't you?
Yes, of course.
Then you need to eat. Why the hesitation?
I don't know you.
What a better way to gain acquaintanceship than over a meal?
You have a point?
I have many. Until this evening, then?
Yes.
And with that, Damien was gone, lost in the crowd of people on the street. It wasn't until then, when she was standing alone, did the ability to move her legs return to her. She shook her head and collected her bucket.
What was that? One moment I'm being threatened, the next I'm being courted? Ridiculous.
She went about the rest of her work, but couldn't stop thinking about the eyes of her rescuer.
Oh, how lovely, Thomas. I'm really liking this one.
Thank you, Rosie. As night fell, Andrea began to worry.
I didn't tell him where I was working, and he didn't tell me where to meet him or at what time. I'm probably already late or missed him completely. Damn! This'll be over before it even starts.
She washed her face, put on one of her few fine dresses, and headed out to the front gate, not even sure where she was going. To her surprise, a carriage stood at the gate with Damien standing beside it.
Good evening, Andrea Milovich. Work all done?
He smiled at her, and her face flushed.
What trickery is this?
Trickery?
How did you know where to find me?
It is a simple matter of deduction. Once we parted ways, I realized we had not set a place to meet. I turned to look for you and saw you'd enter this fine home. Judging by your soap bucket and humble attire, I could only assume you were a laundress and would likely have quarters here. So here I am, here to dine with you.
I see.
Yes, no trickery, only logic. You look lovely in that dress, by the way. Scarlet suits you so much better than that servant's black.
Thank you.
Andrea's head spun. The words baffled her. Who was this man? What did he want with her?
Shall we?
Yes, thank you.
He offered her his arm, which she took hesitantly. Even through the fabric, she could feel the heat from his skin. Unnaturally warm. He felt as if he were running a fever. Once they were seated in the fine carriage, she asked him.
Are you feeling all right?
Yes, quite. Why do you ask?
Your skin feels warm, like you are sick.
Ah, so you've noticed. Andrea, the men in my family have always been warm-blooded. But my blood runs especially hot, particularly in the presence of a woman like you.
Color quickly rose to her cheeks, and she avoided his gaze. She looked out the window to watch the sleepy city pass.
Oh, Thomas, I'm feeling a bit warm myself.
Then my tale is having the effect on you that I wanted.
Very much so. I'm quite taken with that Damien.
Oh, wonderful. The carriage stopped outside of a fine inn, and Damien escorted Andrea inside. Once seated, he ordered wine and roasted fowl.
Mr. LaRue, won't this be awfully expensive?
I don't worry about money, and neither should you. Call me Damien, please. Mr. LaRue is far too formal for my taste.
Are you rich, Damien?
Quite. And what is your next question?
Are you a businessman?
Not really.
Then how are you wealthy? Are you an heir?
In a way.
Doesn't answer my question. What are you, a prince?
Yes. Of a sort.
Oh, I am so sorry for laughing, Your Highness.
Andrea, if we are to be avoiding formality. Using my title is not a good way to begin.
I'm sorry.
And there is no need to apologize to me. I am just a man.
And I am just a laundress.
You do yourself a disservice. I can tell by the way you handled that brute on the street and by the mischievous glint in your eye that you are so much more than that.
You certainly have a way with words.
I thank you. Now tell me about you. I want to know every detail.
While they ate the delicious meal, Andrea talked. She tried not to divulge anything too intimate, but as the wine flowed, so did her words. Damien also spoke easily. By the time the inn was preparing to close, they knew each other in a way that was deeper than the best of friends. But friends was not what Damien wanted to be.
Well, it would seem this fine establishment wishes to close its doors. Shall we continue this in another location? Your quarters in the Catcher's home, perhaps.
Oh, Damien, I would love to, but Mrs. Catcher would never allow it.
Then we part ways at your gate, I'm afraid.
A tragedy. Oh, excuse me.
I say, Andrea, the wine has given your cheeks a lovely rose hue.
Are you sure it's the wine and not you?
Now, who's seducing who here?
Prince Damien, are you trying to seduce me?
With every fiber of my being.
Thomas, this is so unlike anything else you've told. Is there going to be any aspects of terror in this one?
That's what we were thinking.
I'm building to it.
It seems like you're building to something else.
Well, Whitford and Marks are known for publishing, smut.
Oh, please continue. I'm eager to hear more.
Do you have it all so far?
Every word.
Good. The night air was chilled, but the cab of the carriage quickly warmed from Damien's body temperature. Or was it Andrea's? It was difficult to tell. She lounged calmly in his arms, and he whispered in her ear.
Andrea, I fear if I don't kiss you soon, I will lose my senses.
Don't be shy, Damien. I would hate for you to go mad on my account.
With that, he spun her around to face him and kissed her fiercely. The literal heat from his lips burned her, and she pushed away.
What was that?
Just my blood, darling. Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. Yet.
Andrea didn't hear the yet. She was swept away as he placed fiery kisses from her ear down to the neck of line of her dress. She wrapped her arms around him, but unfortunately the cab stopped.
Damnable heavens!
My front gate. It came so quick.
This is where we part ways.
When will I see you again?
Oh, Andrea, you will never stop seeing me.
He kissed her hand and bid her good night. As she slept, she was haunted by wretched dreams. Devils dancing in flames and tortured bodies writhing in pain. All these images mixed with the smiling face of Damien. She woke drained the next morning. As she gazed at her face in the mirror, she screamed. Her lips were bright red, and every place his lips had touched her was lightly burned, sore and tender to the touch.
Oh, my.
Now we get to it.
Never having felt a man's touch, she did not know that these symptoms were not normal. She went about her duties trying to hide the telltale signs of his passion. Mrs. Catcher noticed the marks, but gave her an approving wink and didn't mention them. She was happy. For the first time in her life, truly happy. Her awful nightmares haunted her, but she preferred to dwell on the passionate embrace of her English prince.
Oh, I would do the same.
Don't get any ideas, Rosie.
Of course not, husband.
That night, she was thrilled to see Damien waiting for her at the gate. She hurried to him, and he held her tight, smoothing her hair.
To see you running to me is truly breathtaking sight.
You take my breath away.
Walk with me?
She took his hand and felt his heat. Her dreams flashed before her eyes again, but she pushed them aside. He carried a lantern and led her deep into the woods behind the Catcher home.
It's so beautiful here. Just look at the moon.
The moon's beauty is nothing compared to yours.
Oh, Damien.
She snuggled into his arms, pure joy filling her. They talked for a time about meaningless things, but soon his hands began to wander over her. Hot kisses assaulted her flesh. He laid her down in the cool grass, and she began to panic.
No, we can't do this.
Shh, Andrea. Think not with your mind, but with your heart.
They made fierce, passionate love. But as she reached the heights of ecstasy, she was filled with terror. Damien's hands turned to talons, and fire erupted in his eyes. She screamed and tried to free herself from his grip, but he held her fast. He smiled down at her, his jagged teeth causing a fresh wave of horror to consume her. She saw what he really was. He laughed and
Wanton human, so easily seduced by evil. Your soul is mine. I will see you in my domain,
No.
damned one.
No!
But he was gone, and she was left alone in the dark forest, her skirt still hiked above her hips. A terrible burning filled her body as she stood. She looked at her skin, and it began to decay before her eyes. She ran for her home, but as she ran, her flesh turned to ash and fell away from her bones. When she reached the garden, her body was only a skeleton, and she fell to her knees, exploding in a cloud of ash as she hit the soil. From that night on, until the end of time, her soul was held prisoner in the bowels of hell. On nights, when the moon was high in the sky, Andrea Milovich's screams of anguish can be heard echoing in the woods, the cries of an innocent girl who had unknowingly let the devil inside her.
That is horrid.
I'm sorry, have I scared you?
Yes, you wicked man.
Have you written it all down?
Of course. You could have warned me about the ending.
It came to me without warning.
You mean you made this up as you went along?
Yes, completely. I usually do.
Then, Thomas, you may just have demons after all. But I like them.
Oh, you have no idea.
No, I don't have demons. I'm just a storyteller.
And a gifted one at that.
Thank you, my dear.
Would you like another ale?
Oh, yes, please. I am parched.
Good. I'll be having one too. I need it after that steaming tale. That ending.
Telling tales about bedding the devil. You write from experience. Although you didn't bed me, you befriended me before you knew what I was. A simple human mistake.
You've been quiet for so long. Why are you back now?
You are telling stories that are to my liking. As long as you continue to work for Gerald Barker, I will be here. Right here.
No. No!
What's the matter, love?
Nothing.
Everything. His best friend and worst enemy is back. And boy, do I have stories to tell.
Thomas Tuck's inner demon has returned from the dark recesses of his mind. Will this reappearance be an aid or a hindrance to his career? Time alone will tell. Thank you for listening to Onion Breath Radio Theater. Next week, we will have a new original script by our very own Brooke Maroldi or Dreadful Part 3, depending on how things go. Thank you very much. Have a very good day. Bye-bye now. Onion Breath Radio Theater.